So after facing a day of mice and discard, I roll out my favourite strategy, now even better with Bloomburrow, culminating in one massive flying life-linking worm. Hey everyone, Hex here, and today I'm going after the meta with a tried and tested formula. Flying is definitely still OP in my opinion. Firstly though, if you'd all be so kind as to like and subscribe below to not miss out on future Bloomburrow brews. But onto this deck, and with Bloomburrow, flying creatures are now fully supported. Let's start with Jackdaw Savior. It's a 3-mana bird that says when it or another creature you control with flying dies, return another creature with lesser mana value from your graveyard to the battlefield. This is fantastic against the meta, as you get to discard a Deep-Cavern Bat or a Dust Animus early on, or just chump with them, then you get to reanimate when your flyers die later on. Animus incidentally still totally amazing when your opponent is clearly holding up counter spells, or is a really good card just to plot and hide from those discard decks. I've got Salvation Swan too. And are you ready for some little janky combo here? Well, this cut down proof flashy flyer flickers a target non-flying creature when it enters, and I couldn't not throw Fleshgorgers in this deck. Although non-flying initially, the Swan makes it a 7/5 flying lifelink with ward pay 7 life. At this point, it's pretty much GG. Other creatures today include Aven Interrupter and Aclazotz, a bird and bat that both trigger our other non-flying creature in our Questcaller. Just giving the extra stat lines to your bats though is very valuable, but you do get to scry each time one enters. I've got interaction state in our Smite, cut downs, and some go for the throats. I've got 26 lands, as this allows us to discard them if needed, and that is today's deck. Okay, so a straightforward strategy that works really well in the current meta. The life gain keeps us going long enough to kill them in the skies, and who doesn't like a flying, menacing Fleshgorger that survives go for the throat? As with all decks at the moment, the possibilities seem endless. Include blue for other birds, but today I wanted to go Orzhov to access crucial life gain to deal with the aggro matchups. Stay tuned though until the end when I will go over my thoughts and some changes I might make. Also, feel free to check out my Patreon if you wish to support the channel even further, like these folks have done at the credit level. Now, let's see how I got on today with our Orzhov flyers on the ladder. Alright then, on the play here, and pretty nice hand here actually with the Questcaller and the Bat, so we'll definitely keep this one. Depends what the opponent plays as to what I play first. They've gone for Swamp into Tiny Bones, so presumably a discard deck. They're very popular at the moment, and Tiny Bones does indeed make us discard a card. Let's go for the Questcaller here. It's a 2/3. Fortunately, it does die to cut down, but if we get an opportunity to get a bat down, it would be a 2/2 bat, and we get to look in our opponent's hand. Nope, they do have a cut down. It's the downside of that card, as we find a land, which is nice. Just want to keep hitting our land drops. Gonna name Phyrexian here. Let's go for the bat. Phyrexian for our Fleshgorger. Ooh, Lord Skitter, 2 Shelleys, and Nezumi Informant. Right, okay. I mean, the Informant's going to make us discard a card. Shelley, we can deal with that with Go for the Throat. I think Lord Skitter might be a slight issue here. Let's go for that one. They're going to make us discard a card here. Presumably. Hopeless Nightmare makes us discard a card. We'll get rid of the Swan. Yeah, Informant makes us get rid of another card. It's going to have to be the Bat. I need the Go for the Throat for the Shelley. Fleshgorger's a nice draw, and luckily we named Phyrexian with our Cavern of Souls, so nice little start for us here. We've got some sort of good creatures on the battlefield. Put it with their Shouldered, that is fine by me. Fortunately they have a second one, but we've got a couple of Go for the Throats in the deck, and luckily most of our deck are flyers. Let's get rid of Shouldered, stop taking 2 damage. And land is nice, especially a Restless Fortress, and we'll attack. 4/4, opponent down to 15, but we can start gaining some life back with the Fleshgorger. Shelley. Oh, please attack with this Informant, opponent. That will enable us to attack with our Fleshgorger. They do indeed. Alright, well. Okay, land, probably not the greatest draw there, especially a tap land, but we do get a free attack here. Opponent down to 11 already. We should be able to outpace the Shelley. We do have a Restless Fortress as well that we can attack with if we need to. Bandit's Talent makes us discard a card. We don't have a card, so yeah, I mean, this is going to start giving them a bit of value here as they level it up. And we're going to take 2 damage a turn, basically, now. Pretty much every card we draw, we're going to be playing. We can afford every card. So we're down to 20. Salvation Swan, okay. I mean, Salvation Swan and Fleshgorger is a combo. Alright, I mean, we'll get in there with a bat. They didn't attack with the Nezumi Informant this time. But yeah, make sure we put a stop in their second main. You don't want to get to the end step if you can help it. Shoulder's Edict. That's an annoying card. Sure, we'll get rid of the bat. We could have animated a land there if we wanted to, but I do want to play this Salvation Swan. If anything, it is going to be a 3/3 flyer, but we do, before the end step, manage to play the Swan, flicker our Fleshgorger. It will come back in their end step. It will be a 7/5 flying lifelink menace. So we find a caves. Alright, and surely we can outpace them with our Fleshgorger. They can't even target it now. So we'll just hold back. We'll keep the caves in our hands to maybe force them into a discard spell rather than a removal. But yeah, they can't target the Fleshgorger. They would take 7 damage. They have a go for the throat on the Swan. Go for the throat also doesn't hit Fleshgorger. Fleshgorger is... It's always such a good card, and it's so good when a lot of our opponents are playing black decks. They need a very specific card to deal with that. This should be GG's. But yeah, given the Fleshgorger flying there, fantastic little maneuver, something that we had up our sleeve, and yeah, opponent scoops it up. They see the writing on the wall. Alright then, on the draw. And our hand looks pretty nice, actually. We have a Backstreet on turn 1 into the Questcaller. Then every bird and bat we play is going to scry. So we find a Dust Animus, which is not a bird or a bat. It is a spirit. The opponent on a Orzhov deck, it looks like 2. And it is Elspeth Core, okay. Alright, well, let's get this Questcaller down. The beginning of our strategy here to get this onto the battlefield. And Delny, alright. Well, I appreciate what our opponent's doing here. Delny is one of my favourite cards. Doubles the triggers for creatures with power 2 or less. And we find another go for the throat. But so we could plot the Animus, but I think I'm just going to go for the Savior here. Scry. Caves, don't need that. And no attacks. Okay, we've got to be a little bit careful about our opponent's deck. Double triggers is a little bit worrisome. It speeds the game along a little bit more. Probably going to shoot this Delny when I have the opportunity. Bandit's Talent, okay. We'll get rid of the Animist, I think. We can return this from the graveyard if our Savior dies. Bandit's Talent, surely the most popular card from Bloomburrow. Starscape Cleric for our opponent, alright. Works quite nicely with Delny and Elspeth Core. Opponent up to 24. We go down to 16. So they don't really have to do too much now to kill us. So I think we'll bat the opponent. I'm just going to take care of Delny at the moment. It's worrisome. I guess the Cleric. The other creature we can just go for the throw. Still don't need land. So the scrying working really well here as we kind of would have flooded a little bit. Sure. I'm wondering whether to go for the throw Elspeth Core and attack with the Questcaller as well, but I want to get rid of Delny, I think. Okay, land for our opponent. Oh, they've just gone for the Bandit's Talent. Sure. This is fine. This allows us to take out the Delny without having to worry about their War Leader. Okay. Without that on the battlefield, they don't have the double triggers, which is the important thing for me. We just need some more life gain, and we should be able to just keep up with our opponent here as they get in there with their Cleric. Sure. No blocks. Down to 12. There we go. Find our Aven Interrupter, and if anything, this is just going to be a flying creature, but it means we can just interrupt their War Leader when they play it. And surely we've got this game wrapped up here. Bandit's Talent is kind of working slightly for them. That it's going to work going forward because I'm going to use both these spells this turn. Surely they're going to play that War Leader, and we'll just interrupt it. There we go. And they went to Offspring it as well. So this is quite a big tempo play for us, as there's another Interrupter on top. Well, we'll certainly keep that one. And I think we'll just shoot the Elasil Core. That means we can attack with the team next turn. And then we've got the Interrupter to come back down. Yeah, I mean, this has been a pretty nice performance here from our deck. I mean, the Cleric doesn't block, but opponent down to 3, draw a couple of cards, and even if they have a removal spell, I think we're going to be okay. Yeah, they need some flying creatures that block. Okay, it's land, and yeah, they've gone for the War Leader again. We'll just interrupt this. They still have 3 mana. Even if they kill one of my creatures, they're still going to die. Yep, they scoop it up. Nice. Alright then, on the play. Slight dodgy hand with the Elspeth, Smite and Cavern of Souls, but it is what it is. We'll play a Swamp. I don't know what to name yet with the Cavern. Opponent with a Swamp. And Duress. Okay. Potentially another discard deck. They've gone for a Go for the Throat. It's fine, as we find a Valley Questcaller. Interesting, because we would have to name Warrior or Rabbit with our Cavern, and I really don't want to do that. So I think we'll do this in the other order this time, and we'll go for the Bat, and then next turn we'll play the Questcaller. See what's up. Cut down, Deep-Cavern Bat, Bandit's Talent, fell, Phyrexian Arena. I mean, yeah. We've been up against these decks all day, so I think what we'll do is we'll take their cheapest removal spell. We'll force them to use their Fell on our Deep-Cavern Bat. Unless they play their own Bat. Yeah, they do. Alright. It's a little Bat Mirror here as they go for our Bloodletter. Okay. I don't mind that. We draw another Bat though. I think we're just going to jam this one. And take that removal spell. Ruthless Negotiation, Bandit's Talent, or Fell. Alright, let's get rid of Fell. I don't know if opponent likes that. But we'll name Warrior here just so we can drop this Rabbit next turn. And I'm not going to attack now. Annoyingly, we have 2 of their removals underneath our Bats. So if they find something like a Cut Down, they can almost just chain off removals on all of our creatures. But we do have a card I'm happy to discard in my hand. Bandit's Talent enters the battlefield. Let's get rid of our Smite. And the good thing with the Questcaller here is it's going to make our Bats 2/2s, so we can actually attack through theirs. Okay, land's nice as well, because that means we can just play that. And although we have no cards left, pretty sure every card we draw now is going to be a banger, except for any Elspeth Smites. So yeah, this is where I think the discard deck, although it works quite nicely with Bandit's Talent, if they've just got discard cards in their hand, then it's kind of a bit of a waste of a card. Alright, Phyrexian Arena. So they can start drawing some cards now to try and refill their hand. They get in there with their back because they're not blocking. And we find Salvation Swan, another 4 mana flyer, which is nice. So alright, we can just smash them, and we can Salvation Swan the Questcaller. That's why I've put a stop in their second main, because you want to do it second main. Oh, here we go. Cut down on our Bat. That's going to release their other Cut Down, which can kill the other Bat, which releases Fell. So they're going to chain through this. We do have Salvation Swan, but unfortunately that doesn't save flying creatures. Yep. And the other cool thing about the Swan here is it's going to be big enough to block their Bat, which they're never going to see this one coming. If they attack with it, that is. There we go. Alright, so this has worked out really well. This is why I put the Questcaller in the deck. There's another ground creature to... Oh, land. We'll keep that. Another ground creature to flicker with this Salvation Swan. It's a cool card. Oh, opponent trying to find the thanks emote there. Couldn't find it. And Cavern of Souls into our Bloodletter should be GG's. I mean, presumably they're going to have removal spells, but... Dust Animus on top. Yep, just keep them coming, keep them coming. Alright, opponent down to 5. Down to 4. We have flying creatures, so even something like a Shoulder is not going to do it for them. They do have a Fell. I mean, 2 removal spells would be a little bit annoying. Okay. Alright, opponent. GG's. Yeah. That worked out pretty nicely against the discard deck there. Alright then, on the play. Get behind this hand, absolutely. Go for Courtyard, say go. Hopefully they just play like a red mana and attack us and we can smite it, but no. Azorius land. Alright. Alright, Deep-Cavern Bat. What's going on up there? Beza, 3 lockdowns and Long River's Pool. Okay. Okay. So lockdown affects a few of our creatures. I think the counter spell is probably the better one to take for the minute. If they want to spend their whole turn destroying my bat, so be it. Yeah, just play the land. Unfortunately, we don't have the second black mana there for the Fleshgorger. But we'll go for Savior. I mean, you don't have to play Fleshgorger in this deck, but I just think Fleshgorger and the Salvation are really good, the Swan. Also, Fleshgorger, just a really difficult card for your opponents to want to deal with anyway. But if you know me for more than a few minutes, you'll know that I like to play my little janky little stuff in decks, and I think the Swan and Fleshgorger is janky enough. Could do with another land, but I think we'll just plot this Animus now, get around any counterspell they've got in their hand, and we'll just keep giving them the decision whether they want to use the lockdown purely to take this Deep-Cavern Bat, and if they want to do that, that's fine. But most of our creatures are 3 mana or more. Dust Animus is not, though, so got to be wary of that. Another Dust Animus, okay. Right, so we're just going to attack first. See if we can force their hand a little bit. They might just take this and be waiting for us to play another spell. Okay, down to 11. Alright, let's plot another Animist. Yeah, I mean, we're doing alright here against Azorius. They haven't done too much, but they're down to 11. And we're just going to fly over the top whatever they do. They do have Beza. Okay, here comes the lockdown, sure. Takes care of the bat, but then they do have the counter spell now available. So we find a land, which is decent, because we get to Surveil as well. Another bat, well, we'll keep that. Counter target creature spell, sure. Well, let's get in there first, and we're just beating them down with a Savior. They're probably going to want to play that Beza, so I think we'll give them the Dust Animus to deal with, and then they'll have to potentially just use a lockdown and not play Beza. So is Beza or Beza a new tech in these Azorius decks? Because if it is, it's quite a good card, but it's not doing too much right now, and their lockdown is just going to take those fish. But we can still pummel away, this time with 5 toughness, 5 power. So I still don't want to give them too much because of the temporary lockdowns. We've got the Swan. Let's just flash in a Swan in their end step. I guess we've got the Swan and Fleshgorger combo as well, but they've got a counter spell. There's no point us doing anything. We'll just pass the turn. We've still got 5 power in the air. With the Swan, that will be enough to kill them. They kind of really need to use one of these lockdowns to take care of all the creatures, or to take care of our Animus. Alright, Beza gets in there. And the fish. Alright, well that's a... I guess they have to, really. They can't block. Alright, they go to our turn. So I guess we can just flash in the Swan here. And if they want to counter this, sure. This kind of puts them in a bit of a pickle. They have the Restless Anchorage as well. Something we need to be wary about. Yeah, they had to use the counterspell. They would have been dead. Alright, Swamp is nice. That means we've got an Animus that can come down with lifelink. They can play, or they can animate their Anchorage. We can bat first, but we're just going to be taking probably one of those lockdowns. Let's just go to attacks. Let them make their first move. And then see how it goes after that. I really do like playing against control decks. I find it kind of a real interesting puzzle to have to deal with. And it's nice to see a control deck because the meta recently has been so aggressive and it's been, or it's that discard deck. So I do like playing against something a bit different here. We'll smite this Anchorage though. Yeah, I'm glad we got to use our smite, but it gets that creature off the board, which is nice. Put them down to 5. They are relatively tapped out. We know that the lockdown doesn't touch our Fleshgorger, so let's go for this. I think if they've got Sunfall... No, I'm not going to play this Animus. I kind of want to... I'm trying to force them into using the... Yeah, let's go for it. I want to force them into using these lockdowns. They have to do something, and then we're going to be left with 2 3-power creatures. They'll lose their fish. That early bat really helped us so we can see what the opponent is up to. And we do have Aclazotz as a way for us just to see out the game. You know, a full attack like this is worrisome. Let's just go for the block on the Animus here. If they kill the Animus, I'm not too concerned. Alright, we're going to 12. Is this going to be a Sunfall? That would be annoying. Or some kind of... like the Starfall invocation. Okay, they've gone for the lockdown. That takes the 2 flyers, but we still have lethal here. Another Baser. Okay, I mean, the 4 life gain's the annoying thing here. So we draw a land. Alright. What's the best play? We know they've got a lockdown. I still think if they had Sunfall, they would have already used it. So let's go for... Let's just go through attacks first. We'll go in there with the Savior. And then... Fortunately, we don't have the mana to do both our spells. Which bat are we going to play here? Let's go for the Deep-Cavern Bat. Let's get this hand looked at again. Temporary Lockdown, Aven Interrupter, and Parting Gust. Okay. All highly annoying against us. I guess the Interrupter is a little bit more annoying as it is another creature on the board. If they wanted to start exiling and removing my cards, so be it. We do have this Lupinflower. Yeah, I mean, we just passed the turn. So they can lock down, take our Deep-Cavern Bat, get their Aven Interrupter back. But really, do they want to use a lockdown just to take one of our creatures? Lockdown really isn't set for against our deck. But they've got 3 of my creatures in exile up there. I mean, big turn for them here. They've got a couple of plays. Parting Gust is a way to exile my creature. We'd love to get them to at least 3 life so that they can't really touch my Fleshgorger. This is a tough game trying to navigate our opponent's deck here. Alright, they've gone to end step. Right, okay, so they clearly got some kind of action, or maybe they're just going to be using that Parting Gust. We'll take this Questcaller though. And we find a land, sure. Alright, Questcaller would actually buff our 2 flying creatures. There is a Salvation Swan in the graveyard. So I think what I want to do here is play the Questcaller. If they counter this, then they kill my Fleshgorger or my Jackdaw Savior, at least we get the Questcaller back onto the battlefield. So we're going to force them into a some kind of answer here, some kind of play. Just can't get over the line. Need to run them out of cards. Alright, so that actually hit the battlefield. And let's get in there with the Fleshgorger and the Savior. I guess I should have attacked with the Deep-Cavern Bat as well. But I don't want them to exile my Deep-Cavern Bat. I want them to be pushing for the temporary lockdown for that one. Okay, they've gone for the double block on the Fleshgorger. Sure. Alright, well, this is fine. This Beza has really gained them 12 life as they make a copy of Beza. Alright, Beza. Apologies if I'm saying that wrong. Wow. They gain more life, make more fish. They didn't mark it, well, because they sacrificed their, they had to legend rule their Beza there. Our Fleshgorger actually survived. So we're up to 15, that's nice. We have a massive bat next turn. Okay, temporary lockdown, sure. That takes the Questcaller, takes all their fish. Takes the bat. They get their Aven Interrupter back. Are they going to attack with their 4/5? No. Oh. Well, that's the top deck of the century for us, so we just need to go to attacks here, I think. Luckily, the Fleshgorger's got Menace. I'm not going to play a spell. We're going to force their hand again. So this is a lethal attack. Pretty sure they're going to play the Interrupter here, and then we're just going to go for the Throat It and see out the game. So yeah, pretty tough game so far. We don't know, they've still got 2 hidden cards. Blue-white control, is it a thing? I haven't seen too much of it. I do like their creature they're playing. Okay, here comes the Interrupter. We can just shoot that. And this should be lethal. Unless they have a 1-mana play, which they don't, and we take out the control deck. Nice. Alright, on the draw. Hand's fine. Might have to be playing these Animus as 2-mana plays rather than the plotting side of it. Opponent with a Botanical Sanctum and a Spyglass Siren. Alright. So we find a Swamp. Okay, well, let's go for Plains. Let's see if we can have an opportunity to play our Smite here on the Siren. Tough Cookie as well, sure. Alright, well, let's just Smite this Siren. We can cut down their Cookie. And Jackdaw Savior. Alright, we'll just cut down this Cookie right now. Okay, so we are kind of shields down for a turn. Opponent with Mirex. And Zoetic Glyph. Alright, they've had a really good start. That's probably their best, like, 1, 2, 3 plays. We find a Restless Fortress. Alright, so Zoetic Glyph is a little bit annoying. Let's get down our land and just play this as a 2-3, I think. I just don't think we're going to have any time to be wasting. If this dies, the point is I'm going to block with the Animus, and then this Savior next turn can bring it back to the battlefield. So we get a bit of value there. Or not. Kitesail Larcenist is going to turn our Animist into a treasure. Okay. Okay, they get in there. I mean, they've had probably the best start ever. Oh, our big bat. Well, we'll play that. Lucky we have the mana to do so. Alright, now we can block their Glyph. And although they would discover, at least we get that off the battlefield, which is causing me more problems than it should at the minute. But we do have a lifelinker, 4/4 lifelinker, so I will take care of this 5/4. Or not. They have a Agatha's Soul Cauldron. Okay, that is a bit of a nightmare for us. That does make this Glyph a 6/5, potentially. Yeah, I don't think we can block. I think just losing all our creatures every turn is not going to be too useful for us. Oh, another Animus. Animus. Okay, I guess with the Agatha's Soul Cauldron, our Jackdaw Saviors are pretty terrible. I don't even know what to do here. I think what we're going to do is definitely going to play one of these Animus, and I think I'm just going to plot the other one. Then next turn we can double spell. We can chump with this one. I guess I attack, don't I? Might as well attack in case they find a removal spell. They have to discard that land in their hand. Okay, we do get a bat out of this, and yeah. Alright, back up to 9. We do have a chumper on the battlefield. I think if we can survive this one turn, we might be in business. Okay, Restless Vinestalk, sure. And they get in there. Alright, well, we have a... I don't want to die. I think I'm just going to block their glyph. Alright, we'll block like this. We go down to... Wait a minute. Why is the... Oh, they activated their... They turned their Larcenous into a 3/3. I wasn't watching that bit. Yeah, we're going to die to the Cauldron. That was my bad. Should have blocked. Yeah, I wasn't paying too much attention there. GG's. Alright then, on the draw here. This hand has potential. I quite like this one. We're doing alright so far today. We'll definitely keep this, I think. And then we'll see what to name on Cavern of Souls. And it is a Skull Dweller for our opponent. Okay, I mean, that doesn't necessarily point to Toxic. I was playing that in my Innkeeper Vraska deck, which I will link here. I think it's quite a nice little card. Helps in that deck a little bit as a plan B. We'll go for the plotting of the Animus here. It does look like they are a Toxic deck. They clearly got a counterspell open, so plotting a creature is a good way to get around that. Or they have a removal spell. Or Prologue to Phrases. Alright. So against their deck, I think we just need to jam up the board as much as possible and then just try and out-aggro them. Duress is going to find our go for the throat. Alright, they're getting there. We're up to 3 Toxic now, and land is fine. I think we'll just pass the turn. The Interrupter has Flash. I'm actually going to block this Skull Dweller. I'm going to force them to make a move here. I want the Skull Dweller off the battlefield. Yeah, they have a counterspell, that's fine. Not too concerned about that. You have to get through these cards. Restless Fortress. Alright, well, we have another Flasher in the Salvation Swan, and we'll hold the Animus back for a minute. Could have played the Deep-Cavern Bat, but I think it's better that we flash this creature in. And we'll try and do it again. We'll try and kill this Skull Dweller. Not too concerned about my Swan right now. We are in a defensive strategy here. And another land. Alright, well, we can just play our, I guess, Bat and our Dust Animus here. See what the opponent's got. We've got 3 cards, and they have a Negate and Drown. Okay, well, we'll take the Drown. That should be good. Once we get this Restless Fortress down, I'm happy. Voidwind Hybrid, okay. It's a creature that blocks my Bat, but it doesn't block my Dust Animus. So I guess we just play the Fortress here and attack with the 4/5. They want a 5-turn clock here. They have a Negate in their hand. I'm not going to give them a chance to play that Negate. Can they do 6 Toxic to us before we get a chance to do 16 damage to them? Well, they get in there with their bird. I'm fine with that. Prologue, okay. Draw a card. We're up to 6 poison. Duress finds nothing. I'm not sure if Duress is a good card in this very low to the ground creature meta at the minute. We have a Fleshgorger that we can actually play for its full value here. So I think we'll do that. And we will threaten lethal to them. So they need to do 4 Toxic to us now, or they need to get rid of probably the Dust Animus. Okay, we're up to 7. Yeah, and they scoop it up. I think the moment we got the Fleshgorger down, we won that. Alright, on the play. This is fine. Got the Courtyard into potentially cut down. Not played against any mice today, which is surprising. So many sort of mid-rangey, control-y style Orzhov decks today. In fact, I'd say most of my opponents have played black. Hopeless Nightmare, well, we'll get rid of Cut Down. Oh, is this another discard deck? Novice Inspector, okay. So their deck, I think, could be the Snake deck. They're making loads of permanents. The Snake will come down, sacrifice that. I'm not too bothered about that Snake for the second. We're just going to flash in the Interrupter. Not going to do it now. We'll wait for them to make a move. Okay, Scavenger's Talent. Alright, not bothered about that. Okay, and they're just leveling it up, sure. Alright, well, we'll just pass the turn. We'll keep the Interrupter. If they play the Snake, they're going to have to sacrifice a load of permanents, and we can just plot their Snake, so that should be okay. And it is a Deep-Cavern Bat for our opponent. Alright. I think we'll just interrupt this. I'm sure they would have taken this card anyway. Okay, they had a cut down, sure. They had a removal spell anyway, so that is not the end of the world. They can't play that bat this turn, so they'll have to wait till we find Swamp. So we get a chance to play our Animus here, and it comes down as a 4/5 lifelinker. Let's get our Savior down and plot our Animus, and we'll play that again next turn. So yeah, this is where our deck starts popping off a little bit. Getting to turn 4 and 5. Virtual Persistence deals with our Jackdaw. Deep-Cavern Bat, okay. Yep, we find our Swan. So we're the Dust Animus beatdown deck at the minute. And if they have to take a turn off to play Virtue of Persistence, I'm not too bothered about that either. Be a little bit bothered when they start taking my creatures from my deck. They are still on 22 life though, which is mental. Alright, one top, one bottom. They do not have an attack here. Alright, then pass the turn as we find another Swan. Alright, well, we give it a chance to play our Animus for free. Attack the opponent. We can just flash in the Swan. Although it has no targets on the battlefield for us, it is still a 3/3 flyer. Okay, and it's Shelly, sure. Not a problem for me right now. We can just fly over the top of that. In fact, Sheoldred is one of the reasons I made this deck. I'd seen Sheoldred more now than I have for a while, and I was just trying to work out ways to get through it and get around it. The menace on the Fleshgorger and the flying on our creatures with the lifelink is quite nice. We managed to keep pace with Sheoldred. I still think they're a Snake deck. Okay, opponent. Passes priority, make us mill some cards. Well, I'm fine to mill some cards. We have a little bit of reanimation in our deck. But they go back up to 20. Alright, well. Gonna have to do something now. And I guess we just bring out the Salvation Swan. I was thinking about using my land there. Okay, well, that's going to be a nightmare for them as well. Guess we just attack with everyone. Okay, they take it. They go down to 9. We have Aclazotz as our big finisher. This wasn't always in the deck. This was originally, is it called Maha? But I just felt that that card didn't do enough in this very specific deck. I'm looking to make a deck around that card, but I found that giving you their opponent's toughness, reducing the opponent's toughness to 1 wasn't particularly great or particularly impressive. And I think our 4/4 lifelinker is way better. Still triggers a couple of our strategies in here as it is a flyer and it's a bat. Opponent does find their 7th mana and it is virtue for them. Surely they're just dead though, aren't they? If we swing out with everyone next turn, 4, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. They take 11. I guess the bat blocks, they go to 1. Shelly would bring them to 3. They would probably bring back one of my creatures. I don't know. I think we've got lethal, but it's not cut and dry just yet. Right, you join me as we've gone through most of my opponent's timers here. Finally get a chance to take our turn as we draw another flashy creature, which should be quite good. We go down to 24. We're just going to jam with everyone. They have to discard that card with our Aclazotz. I don't think my opponent's there anymore. They must have disconnected. Alright, this is future Hex here. After we go through the opponent's turn again, they must have disconnected, and yeah, we take them down with our Orzhov deck in the end. Okay, so let's check the stats for this deck over on untapped.gg, and as you can see, my Flyers deck here went 7-2, also went 3-1 in testing, so not too bad today. It was 10-3. Our losses today came against the Simic deck shown in the video and a green deck, but my mana was awful in that. They did have some massive creatures I just couldn't deal with, so that could be something to look at in the deck. But against the black decks, these mid-range decks, I seem to think that we did okay. I'll bring up Arena now to show you the actual deck, and I did make a sideboard here in case there's anything else you want to bring in. So again, really happy with it. Obviously, a little bit of janky combos with the Fleshgorger and the Salvation Swan. If you're not going to play the Fleshgorger, I wouldn't bother with the Swan either. It doesn't really do too much in our deck. But once you do manage to catch your opponent out, as we saw in the video on the first game, it works absolutely beautifully. Jackdaw Savior, a nice card. Didn't actually get to see it too much on these particular videos, but once you start being able to reanimate your Dust Animus and your Quest Callers, things do get a little bit out of hand. You could play some one-drop creatures as well, like the Nurturing Pixie or Ruin Lurker back. Both 1/1 flyers, both would enable you to bring them back from the graveyard when your Dust Animus dies. So that's something that you could do if the Savior's on the battlefield. Other cards you could play that aren't necessarily bats or birds: Guardian of Girapur, the Angel, that gets you to flicker a creature when it enters the battlefield. Obviously flicker in your Fleshgorger, or something like a Steel Seraph that I've put in the sideboard here. Great little value play, but didn't really feel that that is exactly what we were trying to do. That wasn't our total strategy here. Couple of outliers here. Metropolis Reformer, 2/3 flying vigilance. You have hexproof, so any of those targeted spells against you, this would help against that. It is a 2/3 though, and does die to cut down. I think that's such an important stat line you need to be aware of at the moment. Cut down is everywhere, so you really want to make sure that your creatures, if possible, have stats that survive that. So I didn't go with that today. As with Archangel of Tides, I love this card. I've been playing this card off camera a lot. It works really well against rabbits and mice. They have to pay to attack you. It slows the game down. It's a 3/5, but right now the meta I faced today just wasn't great for this particular card, so I've not been playing it, as was Maha. I really wanted this card to work. This isn't the deck for it, I don't think. Reducing your opponent's toughness to 1 doesn't really help when there are counters flying everywhere. It also doesn't help when their creatures are large anyway, so I just didn't feel. I removed this card and replaced it with the Aclazotz, which I think was much better. I do want to make a Maha deck, but I don't think this is the particular build. So to check out my stats for this video and all the decks I play, the link to my untapped.gg is listed in the description, and that's where you'll also find a link to download the deck tracker for yourself. You'll get to track your stats, see the top decks being played, and maybe find a deck or two that you can make with your collection. It is all over there on untapped.gg. But in the meantime, thank you for watching this video, supporting the channel as we grow, and I'll catch you again in the next video.